From Showtime and A24.
What do you love most about Whitney?
Comes a new series unlike any other.
Well, where do I even start?
Academy Award winner Emma Stone.
I like how you fight for us.
Nathan Fielder.
Money doesn't really matter when it's about doing the right thing.
And Benny Safdie.
You guys are strong, right? At the end of the day, you're going to survive, right?
Next question.
New episodes of The Curse, streaming now on Paramount Plus, only with the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
With Kroger brand products from Baker's, you can make all your favorite things this holiday season. Because Kroger brand's proven quality products come at exceptionally low prices. And with a money-back quality guarantee, every dish is sure to be a favorite.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Whether you shop delivery, pickup, or in-store, Kroger brand has all your favorite things. Baker's, fresh for everyone.
What's that place you've always wanted to try? Well, you're there, sharing plates with...
Just one bite.
Or on second thought, maybe not sharing. It's that good. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it. Your favorite band's about to play a sold-out show, and you definitely got tickets. And drinks. Now hurry and make it back to your spot. Past this person and that person. About 20 more. Ooh, watch out for feet.
Hey!
Just keep going. A little further. Oh, there's your friend.
Over here.
Right where you want to be. Close enough to see the set list. And they're definitely playing your song. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.
Enjoy basketball, soccer, and all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using bonus code LIBERTY and your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. Plus, when you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. Download the BetMGM app today or go to BetMGM.com and enter bonus code LIBERTY and place your first wager risk-free up to $1,000. Now you're winning with the king of sportsbooks. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. Pennsylvania only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, help is available. Call 1-800-GAMBLER in partnership with Hollywood Casino Morgantown.
Hey guys, it's Christine Blackburn from the Storyworthy podcast. Today on the show, I share 3 of the best stories from 2020.
There was a strip club in Anchorage, Alaska called PJ's Strip Club. And Jay Leno had worked there. He goes, yeah, you got to work at this club. You know, they pay you cash. It's a strip club. It's a good gig, you know? And so I said, okay. So I worked up there with Bob Saget.
And so I'm in between the 2 cars. I am facing the hood, and there's the car behind me that we hit. And a 3rd car comes and rear ends my car, pushing the 2 cars that I'm stuck in between into my legs.
You need to report to the swimming pool immediately. And I look out across the swimming pool, and I'm expecting to see 2 dead children, you know, just floating in the shallow end of the pool. And I look out there, and it's just so much worse.
Today on the show, I share 3 of the best stories from 2020 with Kevin Nealon, Allie Goertz, and Joe Manente. Stay close.
Hey, it's Kevin Nealon. You're listening to Storyworthy.
Hey, this is Allie Goertz, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Hey, this is Joe Manente, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show or a new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. Now, today on the show, I hope you guys had a chance to listen to Jefferson Graham last week. Jefferson Graham just finished 36 years at USA Today as a reporter. Can you believe that? 36 years at one company. It's just unheard of. And over his time at USA Today, Jeff Graham interviewed over 10,000 celebrities. I'm not kidding. 10,000 celebrities. So go back, you guys, and listen to last week's story by Jeff Graham. It's really It's really interesting. So definitely do that. But not today, you guys, because today I'm sharing 3 of the best stories from 2020. Now, you may have already heard these stories, but trust me, they are worth another listen. Now, look, I know 2020 was not a great year for really any of us, except for Jeff Bezos and, the Tesla guy. But the point is we're still in this together, and I really appreciate your time, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in week after week to Storyworthy. As you know, I've been going for over 10 and a half years now, and I just keep pushing on because of people like you out there who are listening right now. So really, if you haven't given me a review in a while, please go over to Apple Podcasts and do that, and subscribe anywhere you want. Spotify, Stitcher, NPR One, iHeartRadio. The show plays everywhere. You know that. And head over to storyworthypodcast.com as well to check out what's going on. As you know, Story Smash, the storytelling game show, is back every Friday night live on Facebook and YouTube. And it is so darn funny. Blaine Capatch is an expert judge week after week. And we've had some other fabulous judges and players like Kira Sultanovich and Greg Proops and Felicia Michaels. And we are back, and it is a blast. So really, you guys, every Friday night, 7 p.m. live on Facebook and YouTube. You can just find me, Christine Blackburn, on Facebook, and also at my YouTube page at Christine Blackburn, and boom, you've got yourself a front row seat to the funniest game show not yet on television. Okay, you guys, we'll see you Friday nights. Don't forget, 7 p.m. And also, I wanted to mention that the Storyworthy Hour of Power is back the third Sunday of every month at Flappers Comedy Club in Burbank. Of course, this show is also virtual, but I've been really excited that Flappers picked up the show because, as you know, I did 27 of those during the pandemic, and looks like somebody was paying attention. That's right. Flappers Comedy Club has picked up the Storyworthy Hour of Power. The next show is January 17th with Rick Overton, Mindy Rickles, Dylan Brody, and Jennifer Valley. All right, you guys, let's get right to the best of 2020 right now. This first story is by actor, creator, musician, artist Kevin Nealon. What an amazing guy. He has a new show out right now. Danny Zucker's actually working on it as well. It's called Hiking with Kevin, and I'm really anxious to see the very first one. All right, you guys, you can find Kevin over on Twitter at Kevin_Nealon. Wherever you are, put your hands together for the fabulous Kevin Nealon.
Hey, thank you. Okay, so my story.
Yeah.
As a stand-up comic, when you're starting out, you work anywhere. I worked in delis. I've worked, in discos, any place, you would work to just try to get the experience on stage. And a friend of mine came to me and he said, do you want to work up in Point Barrow, Alaska? I said, probably. Can you tell me a little more about it? He goes, yeah. Well, Point Barrow, Alaska is where Will Rogers and Wiley Post went down in their airplane and they died.
Wow.
It's the most northern point in the continent.
Wow.
And I've worked in Alaska before, in Anchorage. And I worked in Anchorage, and I'm going to circle back. I'm going to walk it back to this Point Barrow in a minute. But there was a strip club in Anchorage, Alaska, called PJ's Strip Club. And Jay Leno had worked there. He goes, yeah, you got to work at this club. They pay you cash. It's a strip club. It's a good gig, And so I said, okay. So I worked up there with Bob Saget.
Yeah.
And this was like around 1982, something like that. I think it was maybe before or right after I did my Tonight Show. But I was doing like the afternoon talk shows like Merv Griffin and maybe I did a Letterman or so. And maybe I did a Tonight Show. But anyway, so I go up there with Bob Saget and another comic, Daily Pike. And I've never been to Alaska before, and it's really interesting. And we go to PJ's that night, and we're literally following the strippers that are just on the show for all the oil workers and the lumberjacks. And they got flannel shirts on, and they're smoking. You could smoke at the time. And the strippers are literally passing us, coming off the stage with pasties that are on fire. They have a locker. They have lockers in the back. And Bob and I would go out there, individually, and we do our act. And then the owner of the club would put us up in his trailer in his backyard. And when I say a trailer, it didn't have a kitchen or anything. It was like it was almost like a storage shed. It was a big trailer, a big room with no furniture, just 2 beds, not even a TV. And Bob and I would lay in the same bed. No, we'd be having different beds. And we would try to come up with the dirtiest sentence we could think of. It didn't have to be grammatically correct. It would go on. It would go on and on and on. Just every dirty word we could think of. And that's how we would entertain ourselves up there. So that was pretty cool. And I remember there was a bodybuilder stripper up there, and she was huge. And I remember another friend of mine told me, a comic, went up there subsequently to us and said that he had slept with her. And he said, it was so weird, man. It was like sleeping with a guy. I said, how would you know that? How would you know that? So the next chance I had to work in Alaska was up in Point Barrow. My friend, and I think this was maybe even before PJ's. I'm not sure of the order of things, but he was a ventriloquist, David Strassman, and he was a really good ventriloquist. And he had met somebody who knew of a dance hall in Point Barrow and thought it might be, fun to try stand up there. So the only people that live in Point Barrow, which is a dry county, because the Inuits, can't drink up there, but they do. The only people who live there are the Inuits, scientists, and some professors. And I think it was either always light or it was always dark when we were there. I can't remember what it was because it's so far north. So we fly into Anchorage in a big size plane. The next plane from Anchorage to Seattle, we fly to Seattle in a big plane. And then the flight from Seattle to Anchorage is a little bit of a smaller plane. And then from Anchorage to Point Barrow was a small prop plane that seated maybe, 50 people. And we were sitting next to an Inuit who they used to call Eskimos. Now it's politically incorrect. And he was telling us about his grandfather who, lived in Point Barrow. And he had a wife that was a mail order bride, back then. So he invites us to go out seal hunting with him on the ice, sometime when we're up there. And I'm a big animal rights guy, and I'm not into seal hunting. But they do it to survive up there, and that's what they do. And I thought, well, it could be interesting to go out on the ice, on the polar flow or whatever it's called. So David Strassman and I, we get off the plane, we land, and they meet us at the plane with these snorkel hooded jackets, with the snorkels coming way out. So you can't turn your head to see something. You have to turn your whole body, And we go to where we're staying, and every business, every restaurant, they have a little door you go through. It's like, it's like one of those valve things, like in a submarine, where you have to get inside first, shut the door, and then there's like a hot chocolate thing there and a little, wooden stove, and then there's another door to go into the establishment because they don't want the heat escaping. Mm-hmm. And then you plug your car engines into these outlets, when you're parked there, so your engine block doesn't freeze. Wow. It was frigid. It was so cold. There's no sewage lines, no sewer pipes there because the ground is frozen. All the sewer pipes are on top of the ground. Oh. And then they have honey trucks that come and pick up the honey buckets where you go to the bathroom in the bucket and you put them out on the back porch and they pick those up. That's a good job. Yeah. And so we were fascinated with it all. And we go out on well, first, let me tell you what the gig was about. We go to this gig. It's in a dance hall, and there's no tables or chairs. It's just all empty, and it's kind of cold in there, and everybody's congregated way in the back of by the entrance where they take the tickets. And there's maybe 40 people total, and they're all just standing. They're kind of like socializing by the back thing, and the stage is way on the other end in the corner. So Dave and I do our acts, and as I'm doing my act on stage, I see the bouncer carrying out this Inuit woman over his shoulder who is drunk. It's a dry county, but people get alcohol. The people drink more, I think, in a dry county than where they serve alcohol. Throws her out the back door, which is right by the stage. 5 minutes later, I see the same woman. She came back in. She brushed herself up, came back in. The guy's carrying her out again. I must have seen her go by me about 5 times, or he was throwing her out. So anyway, that was kind of a nightmare, but it was worth the experience. So we meet up with the Inuit that we met on the plane, We go to his house. He opens up a freezer. You know, one of those freezers. I don't know if you had one of those growing up as a kid. Out in the garage, you lift it up, and your mother has like 8 years of like frozen stuff out there. And he's showing us whale blubber. I mean, this is how they, this is how they survive. They have to hunt, and they're way up there. And like I said, I'm not really a fan. I'm not a fan of killing things.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Do you want to try the whale blubber?" I said, "I think I'm good. I'll have a popsicle later." It was frozen too. And so then he goes, "Okay, I'm going to go get the sled." And he pulls up in front of the trailer. They're all like trailers up there. And he picks us up on the sled, and he's pulling the sled, not dogs, but he has a snowmobile. He's riding a snowmobile, and it's dark. It's kind of dark. And we start heading to the ice. And and he goes, "This is polar bear season. They're migrating. So keep your eye out for polar bear." And with our hooded jackets, you can't turn like that. You got to go like this, all the time. And I have my phone, and I'm taking pictures, and my phone is actually freezing up. My camera, not my phone, my camera is freezing up. And, and nothing really worked. I think I got one picture out of the whole deal. So we go out as far as we can on the ice, and he has a rifle with him for his hunting. And Dave Strassman and I are sitting on the sleds, and he gave us these, we go as far as we can on the ice. And then there's big hunks of ice sticking up. We can't go any further because it's blocked, because these ice chunks come up. So we have to get out and walk now. And he's on a snowmobile and you're behind him. He's pulling the sled. Right. Yeah. So we all get out, and he hands us these long poles to carry, like tight wire, tightrope artists use.
Yeah, the long ones.
In case we fall through the ice, we're holding these poles so the poles will catch us on the ice, and we can pull ourselves up.
Oh my God, that's so smart.
So we got the poles. We're looking for polar bear, and he's in front of us with his rifle, and he finds the open sea. We get to the open sea, and he shoots the rifle a few times, but he never got a deer. I mean, he never got a deer. He never got a seal. It would have been weird if he came back with a deer.
Did you see any seals?
No, never saw a seal. But that was a great experience. That's a great thing about doing stand-up in the early days, where you take these gigs normally you would never take, once you're established. And, I got to see that whole part of the country, which I've never even thought about before. And it is just a whole different lifestyle up there. It's just everything is so frozen. I was trying to look at my phone here. I thought I had a picture of Point Barrow. It's just so desolate,
It's so white as well, and so mountainous, right?
I don't remember mountains. I think it was pretty flat, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong, but I thought it was. I thought it was pretty flat. But
when you fly into Anchorage, I've only been there once, but I was amazed at it's just so much earth. Like there's so much. It's so vast.
It really is. And the air is so clean too. And I remember we went in Anchorage, we went to this thing called the Bird Nest. I don't know if anybody's ever been there that's watching, but it used to be a little pub like outside of Anchorage. And from the earthquake they had in 1920 or whenever it was, it sunk into the ground a little bit. And it was old. It was like an old log cabin kind of a thing. And it was one of those bars that was half underground, and the windows were just about at level with the ground. Everybody had their business cards in the ceiling, and license plates and everything.
Fun, yeah.
Yeah, and the initiation was, I mean, if it's your first time there, you get to call the birds. It's called the bird nest. And you open up the window, and they give you this little horn, and you blow it as loud as you can to attract the birds. And the horn is kind of shaped up like this and comes around. It faces your face. What you don't know is it's full of powder. And it's a trick they play on first timers. And you blow as hard as you can, and it comes at your face. Everybody, he fell for the joke, yes, idiot.
That's awesome. Kevin and I went on to talk another 15 minutes on this show, and it was just so nice. I mean, I've known Kevin for a few years, but it's truly like talking to my brother. Every time I get to have a conversation with him, it's so normal and it flows so easily. It's like he's my brother. All right, you guys, this next story comes from a very talented musician and writer. Her name is Allie Goertz, and she did her first Storyworthy, oh my gosh, probably 9 years ago when she was only 21. At one point in the show, Allie Goertz was my youngest guest at only 21 years old. Now she's a little older, just as fabulous. And this story, I didn't know about this until, she told the story on the show, but it is really scary. And it's just one of those moments in life that became a game changer for her and just turned her entire path around. So listen to this story. It's called The Car Accident That Changed My Life. You can find Allie over on Twitter at Allie Goertz. And wherever you are, folks, put your hands together for the very talented Allie Goertz.
So this is the car accident that changed my life. And I really am not exaggerating. It really, I think I wouldn't be here today. Who knows? So I was probably 19 or 20 years old. So this is quite a ways back for me. I am now 28. And I was in the car as a passenger with my boyfriend at the time, Josh. And Josh and I had just gone to Carl's Jr. and gotten like this new dipping sauce that they had. We were fast food junkies. We were broke. Like we both gained like 15 pounds. And we were very excited. Our outing of our date was that we're going to go get this new sauce that they have at Carl's Jr. And so this does not end up in the police report, but what happens is I was feeding Josh French fries from the passenger seat, probably distracting him a little bit because I'm dipping these French fries and feeding it into his face. And as this is happening, Josh stops the car suddenly and hits the car in front of us. And he says before it happens, "I'm about to hit this car." And it scares me because he's very calm about it and there's nothing you could do. It's just what's going to happen. I'm about to hit this car. And he's driving my car, mind you. And he's not insured in the policy. It's only for me. So I'm a little worried. But I could tell in the split second that I had to react, it's not going to kill me. It's going to be fine. And so we hit the car and it's really loud. And the hood of my car is crushed down to half size. You can't even see. Everyone's fine, but the sauce got all over the car, and it's the color red, so it looked like blood, and it was very frightening. But we get out of the car, and the people we hit, their car had the tiniest little scratch, whereas my car was completely totaled. And the people in the car, it was this really big guy who was quite silent. In fact, my memory is he didn't say a word. And then these two women. And the two women were really upset, and they were really coming down hard on us, even though they had this baby little scratch and my car would not operate. As we were dealing with that, I called my dad and I asked him, "Hey, I just got into this car accident," and he immediately asked me where I was because he's just such a good guy. Yeah. And he asks if I'm okay. Where are you? I say where I am, and I say, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I know you don't have a lot of street parking, but is there any way that I could tow my car to your house? Because we have none. There's nowhere we could put this car." And he says, "Yeah, there's not much, but I'm going to stand outside and I'm going to wait and save this spot for you if I find one." He's such a good guy. And in the middle of that conversation, I am looking at the hood of my car, kind of explaining the damage. And so I'm to the side of the road in between the two cars. So I am facing the hood, and there's the car behind me that we hit. And while I'm on that phone call, a third car comes and rear ends my car, pushing the two cars that I'm stuck in between into my legs. And so basically, my memory is this really crazy smashing sound, but I don't feel anything and I don't see anything. I just hear this sound, and then I hear that gigantic man who had said nothing go, "Holy shit!" And so I look at him and I look at everyone, and everyone is staring at me and is shocked. And I look down and the cars are touching. They are not, there's not a second or an inch of space. And I had just seen the movie Signs for the very first time that day. And if you have not seen Signs, I'm going to spoil it for you. There's a character who gets in a similar situation where she is stuck between two vehicles, and when one of the vehicles is removed, it cuts her in half. So I have it in my head that if one of these cars is backed up, I'm going to be cut from the legs down, which is maybe an exaggeration, but that is what I thought at the moment. So again, I feel nothing, but I start to scream, and I'm screaming, I won't do it at the full volume, but this is the type of screaming I was doing. Ah, 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 just repeated. I can't stop. It's very fast and frequent. And my dad was still on the phone with me. So imagine being my dad on that phone call. He tells me now, when he was on the phone, he was listening in and said, "What is that annoying sound?" And then his new girlfriend, who is now the mother of his daughter, said that she watched the color of his face instantly disappear, and he almost fainted. I don't know any of this at the time. All I know is that my glasses flew off my face, my phone is somewhere, there are these cars going, and I'm thinking, I guess this is how it happens. I mean, everybody has to lose their legs at some point. When you lose your legs, you lose them somehow, and this is what's happening. And I'm wearing black tights, I can't see anything. And Josh, he had been hit and he had fallen onto the ground, but he was mostly fine. He just was a little shocked. He was leaning on the car when this happened, and he fell to the ground. So he got up, and he sees that the guy who hit me is still in his car. He has not gotten out to see what's happening, and he realizes he's starting to get out, and he yells at him "Get the fuck back in your car and reverse." And I say, "Please don't reverse. I'm going to get cut in half." And everyone's like, "We got to just do this." And so the guy gets into his car. He backs up. I fall to the ground. And Josh, fortunately, strong enough guy that he was able to pick me up and take me to the bus stop. And I was, of course, afraid. I'd heard, you're not supposed to carry people in this situation. But because it was my back, we figured, okay, let's just risk it. And so we get over there. Someone's calling 911. My memory goes in and out of this because your body is really trying to not think of pain. I remember not feeling a single thing, and then suddenly all the pain at once. And I'm sitting on this bus stop, and kind of magically, this woman who wasn't there before has appeared, and she's giving me ice. She's feeding me ice and braiding my hair and speaking to me in Spanish, these, I assume, really nice affirmations. I don't know where she came from. I don't know what she was doing other than she must have seen me get into the accident and was just trying to calm me down. And I remember feeling like, you're an angel. I remember feeling like I'm being blessed by an angel right now. And keep in mind, I'm not a believer of anything like that. It just felt so lucky that this really kind woman was just taking care of me until the ambulance showed up. And so the ambulance arrives, and they put me on a stretcher, and I am so afraid of needles that when they say, we're going to need to give you a shot, I say, can you please not? I'm just really afraid. And they're just like, you were just stuck between two cars. You don't think you could handle this? But they gave me the shot. I screamed. I was such a baby. And from that moment on, I became the very funniest person I've ever been in my life, because the way that I handle fear is through comedy. And so I wish I had been able to record this, because it would have been my Comedy Central half hour, because truly every single thing I said, and it was just the wittiest, smartest, fastest, Marx Brothers-esque, bam, 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 every single thing. And basically, I remember it being a truly delightful experience after that point, because I couldn't have it be anything else. Otherwise, I would have been sobbing. But some funny elements that happened in the car. The first thing that happened is after they gave me my shot, they said, "We're going to have to cut these off." And I said, "My legs?" And they're just like, "No, your tights." And I'm just like, say tights. Say tights next time. And they cut down my tights, and you could see that my legs were they weren't good, I'll say that. And so suddenly, I won't get too graphic, but it was very damaged, extremely black and blue and red, and it was really gnarly. And for the first time that day, in addition to watching Signs, I had been complimented on my outfit at college. So I had been kind of like, I've always been someone who likes to wear tights and kind of like, 90s Lisa Loeb type.
Yeah.
And finally, I feel like I really came into my style, and I got 3 compliments that day, and I'd never in my life been complimented by other women on my clothes, and I was so excited about it. And there was a point where after they cut through my tights, they realized they had to cut through everything, and I was like, but this is my favorite outfit. You can't. But they did. And it really was almost as heartbreaking as the experience of getting crushed. It was truly crushing. And so basically before they had to cut through all my clothes, they shut the door of the ambulance. But I saw my dad in the crowd, and suddenly like this wave of peace kind of came over me. And he's like, I'm going to meet you at the hospital. And he had my glasses, he had my phone. And I was so relieved. And then as soon as I got in there, I was talking about, I wish I could tell you all the different jokes I made, but I know that I was being funny because everyone was saying everyone that worked there was saying like, you should be a comedian. This is so funny. You're being hysterical. Granted, they were probably being nice to me because I was in a lot of pain. But basically they had to cut through the outfit. It was so embarrassing. I was saying like, I've never been naked before in front of people that I'm not dating. This feels so strange. And they're just like, please, this is a doctor. We see bodies all the time. And I'm just like, but you've never seen my body. And they're just like, it's nothing I haven't seen before. And I'm just like, well, let's see. And I, very TMI, I apologize. But like, it was a very bad day for this to happen because I was on my period and like I had like this makeshift little panty liner that I made out of toilet paper. And it was like, so the man is just like, what is this? And the woman is just like, oh, next time I'll do it. It was just so humiliating. But basically, they're doing the x-rays, and fortunately my legs were not broken. And based on what the police had seen, who ended up meeting us back at the hospital, I was standing exactly in a place where my car had been indented from the first accident. Like I was basically cocooned, and had I been to the right even 2 inches, oh my God, it would have theoretically gone through me. Or as the doctor said to me, so I had been dealing with nurses and assistants, and then I got this doctor coming in to tell me, here's what happened. He says, well, if you had been over 1 inch, this would have happened. Or if you had been any thinner, it would have gone through you. And I'm just like, I don't need this right now. Like I've gone through a lot already, sir. I don't need you to tell me I have thunder thighs. But I really am grateful that I had thicker legs, I guess, because it could have saved my legs. But basically, I was very fearful of needles, very fearful of that type of thing, even though I just endured a lot of pain. And I was told I needed to get stitches because I had, gaping wounds. And I said, do I have to? And they're like, oh, I guess not. And then I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be the case. Like, I feel like you should give them to me. But they didn't give them to me. And I now have kind of a cool scar, but it's kind of like, man, are we just allowed to not have stitches when we don't want them? I guess it's just an optional thing. But basically, my dad and Josh and his newer girlfriend Katie had arrived at the hospital, and they're all with me while I'm getting more morphine, which is also at that point I'll concede I probably wasn't being actually funny. I just thought I was being very funny because I was on a lot of great drugs. Yeah. But nothing had broken, but I had hematoma, which basically is like a very tough layer of cells. And it's basically like if you were to touch my leg, you would have felt what kind of feels like armor underneath my skin. And I wish that I knew more about the way that the body works to explain it in better detail, but hematoma is what I had. And so although nothing had broken, it was incredibly painful and bordering impossible for me to stand. I tried to stand and I immediately started to collapse and they had to put me in a wheelchair. And so I was able to leave on crutches and with this chair, but I lived upstairs, which was very difficult. And I have 2 little kittens that we had just got that were loving to jump on my legs. Yeah. But for the next couple of weeks, I was bedridden. And this is at a time in my junior year of college where I really needed to be there and I could not go. And so I tried once or twice to go to class, and because I already kind of hated college and had just recently started playing music, I decided I'm just gonna stop. And so I dropped out of college, mostly because of my legs, but largely because, you know what, I'm just not going to. And with all of this new free time, I started writing new songs, and I fell in love with music and comedy, and I started posting on YouTube, and that is how I ended up getting to do anything. But before that, there was this period of time, which I will always remember very deeply, where I couldn't really walk, so I wasn't able to get to the kitchen and fix myself something healthy. And my mom knew that my favorite food was mashed potatoes and gravy. And so that's all I ate. It's not like my jaw was broken, but I was kind of only eating that type of junk food. And so I used to be really, really prude and opposed to all drugs and alcohol. And I used to be so straight edge. And I had to take this medication that was meant to, help me not be in so much pain, but it would make me sleep in the day. And it was depressing me so much because I would just be constantly sleeping. I felt like, well, what's the point of living? And so my boyfriend at the time said, well, you could always try pot. And I'm just like, I'll try anything. And so there was this really beautiful period where I was just eating nothing but mashed potatoes and getting so high, and had this new game at the time called Skyrim had just come out. So I was playing Skyrim about 13 hours a day. And it was truly a decadent period of my life where I was really what I imagine my haters to look like. Someone who's just eating mush and playing video games all the time and gaining weight. I think one of the reasons why I'm not more upset by people who are mean to me on the internet is because I am that person. I have lived that life and I get it. And so once my legs started to kind of recover, because I had to go to physical therapy, and I actually would get really excited because I like attention as much as the next person. And I like to stand out sometimes because, there's a bit of an egomaniac in me, I suppose, but I think in a healthy dose. But basically, I really loved wearing clothes that would show the scars and bruises that I had. And because people would just be like, what on earth happened to you? And at the doctor, people would I really loved getting the attention of that looks so bad. I'm just like, it is so bad. My favorite feeling in the world is someone feeling my forehead and being like, yeah, you're a little warm. That is my dream state, which, I think therapy is very important and all of us should go. So basically, after the physical therapy made it so that I was able to comfortably walk, I started going to yoga, and I started really taking my health more seriously and really valuing that I was alive. And it was this really amazing thing where I felt like I had this opportunity to really do anything. And, now that I had this kind of new lease on life and had been making music for about a year after the accident, I got my settlement from what had happened to me. Yeah. And it was for, I think it was for $60,000. And for me, that was the most life-changing money I'd ever heard of in my life. Yeah. And so it made it so I was able to leave Long Beach. And so I had loved my boyfriend and he loved me, but we were at a crossroads in our relationship where it was like, if we're not going to, make this be the relationship, I've only been with one person, and I think it's time for me to explore, and for him as well. And so I had the money, and I I went to the car dealership on, I think it was Christmas Eve. Wow. And I went and I was looking at cars, and there was this guy who was helping me out the whole time, and I decided I was going to get this Ford Fiesta because it was zippy and small and fairly affordable. And so basically, I got the paperwork, and it came to this part where it said, well, where do you live? And I burst into tears. Because I didn't live anywhere. I was crashing at people's houses until I found the next place. I wasn't sure if I was going to move to Portland or if I was going to move to LA. I didn't know what I was going to do. But I burst into tears. And the guy felt really bad, and he was just like, I could make it a little cheaper. What can I do? And, he was very nice. And I was like, oh, no, it's okay. Yes to being cheaper, but yes, let's keep going. And so I'm about to leave the lot, and the car is just about to depreciate in value, and the guy stops me. I assume I must have forgotten something because he yells and tracks me down and going, Allie, wait. Yeah, what is it? Don't forget, Fiesta means party. And I just kind of looked at him, and then I said, thank you. And then I took my car and I pulled to the side of the road and I sobbed. And I was just like, why did he think that would make me feel better? But I think about it all the time because I actually had 2 Ford Fiestas after that. And I hate that car. It's the worst car I've ever had, but I got it twice because life is a party. But with that car, I drove further than I'd ever driven in my life. Before that time, I'd driven maybe as far as San Diego, which is 2 hours. I decided with my newfound freedom that I was going to drive to Seattle. And so I drove for 3 days straight, stopping, at night. And I really challenged myself to just kind of take the coast and see where it went. And I did things that would have terrified me now that I was so brave and cool to do then. And it was an experience for me where I decided I'm going to be an adult now. And so I had my first ever, kind of a hookup where it was like someone that I had been talking to, but it was the first time where I'm not in a relationship and there are no strings attached. Area? Was I in a picnic area? It ended up being this fun kind of like lost weekend type feeling. And I remember there was this one night where I visited my dad's friends, people that I'd known since I was a baby, who were really wholesome and good. And I, at the time, was really wanting to let go of that and to just be, this cool person who stops at bars on the way and, meets people and wears too much makeup. And I really wanted to feel like a grown-up who was able to live their own life. And I remember I'd had plans to go and see this concert, and I was hoping maybe I'll meet someone there, and it starts at 11, and how cool. But before that, I got dinner at these guys' house. Their names are Russ and Jackie, and their house is just so wholesome and inviting. They have this dog named Buster after Buster Keaton. They love the 40s. They're just super sweet. And they're saying, why don't you stay for a while after dinner? And I was like, I would, but I'm going to this show. I was like, okay, well, why don't you help us cook in the meantime? And so we're all making spaghetti, and they have jazz playing, and it's just really wholesome and sweet, and it's really hard to not get swept up in the fun. And we eat our spaghetti, and they're like, well, why don't we play a game of Scrabble? Your show doesn't start for a while. I was like, okay, sure. And so we're playing. There's a fire. The dog is on me. Eventually, I fall asleep on the couch, and I wake up to, Allie, do you want a milkshake? I'm like, I do want a milkshake. Yes, I do. And so the night ends up just being milkshake, spaghetti, dogs, and a fire and Scrabble. And it was the best night I'd had in my life up until that point. And it was just like, this is the real me. Why am I trying to pretend that I'm someone that I'm not? But at the end of my week-long trip, I went back to that man who I had my first ever fling with. And he said in a very cinematic way, "You've grown so much since I've seen you." And I was like, I have. I really have. And I came back and I decided to live in LA. And because of the settlement amount, I was able to live here without having to work.
Amazing.
And so I used all of that time, and I released my first album, and I got the job on At Midnight, and I was able to really invest in myself in a way that I am so incredibly lucky to have been able to do so. And I wouldn't have been able to do anything without this settlement money from the accident, which is why I think everyone should get hit by a car.
Boy, am I glad that girl is still around, right? Can you believe that story? It just made me queasy in my stomach. I can't even imagine what was going through her mind as she was pinned between those cars. I mean, it's just an amazing story by a really great talent, Allie Goertz. Follow her over there on Twitter, like I said, at Allie Goertz, and you won't be sorry. All right, you guys, this last story I wanted to share for the best of 2020 is by comedian Joe Manente. Joe Manente is one of the funniest comedians I've ever heard in my life. And probably part of it is because he does so much comedy. He runs the Fourth Wall Comedy Cafe here in Los Angeles. And even during the pandemic, he's been keeping it up. And he just is a real supporter of comedians and stand-up comedy in general. And here he is with, in my opinion, the funniest story I heard in 2020. It's called Teaching Special Ed with the one and only Joe Manente. You guys can find Joe over there on Facebook. Wherever you are, please put your hands together for the very talented Joe Manente.
Yeah, so as Christine was saying earlier, I used to work in special education. I was a substitute teacher for the Los Angeles Unified School District while I was playing in a band, and I got this assignment one day. It said CBI, and I was like, okay, I don't really know what that is, but I definitely need a day of work. So I'm driving out to Van Nuys to do this. You know what I mean? This was at Balboa High School. I think it's a charter school now. It's not even a part of LA Unified, but at the time they had this CBI thing. And I'm like, oh my God. All right, well, I'll go check it out. And so I'm walking down the hall. I got my assignment card and, I checked the doors there and there it is, CBI. And it says the full thing out, community-based integration. And I'm like, okay, well, what is that? And I walk in and it is, it's just floor to ceiling special needs people. You know what I mean? And I was preparing myself for, basically anything, but it was overwhelming, you know what I mean? Because, you never know what you're going to walk into with LA Unified. It could be gangs. It could be like a class of all pregnant girls, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I had these other experiences, but this was like really crazy because it was a mixed bag of like special needs. It wasn't just autistic. It wasn't just deaf. It wasn't just Down syndrome. It was 32 people with, all those things, you know what I mean?
What is your education, first of all? Is it in special education?
Well, in a sense it is theater arts. I mean, I had to deal with some neurotic people, but nothing on the level of this, you know what I mean?
So you didn't go to college for
No.
Wow.
This is LA Unified. They're just happy you show up, which is the level that I operate on. I have to have a job where that's why I work for myself now. Is at the time, I need to have a job where they're just happy that you showed up because any details beyond that, I'm not going to be able to like really follow through. So, LA Unified substitute that you just show up, they're stoked.
You're breathing.
I'm there. They're not checking in on you. It's just like, is everyone alive? Great, you're fine. Okay, so this is a good job for me. So I walk into this place and that's what it is, and it's 32 disabled people and they're adult helpers, thank God. So I wasn't alone, and it was overwhelming. They were trying to walk me through the routines of the day and everything, because that's all CBI is just building routines and helping these people function on a daily basis. Sure. And it was a great program. It was really, really kind of the pride of the school. I started to find out. It was the biggest. I mean, it was just, that's normally a special ed like 9 people. This is like a big classroom full of people. Yeah. So, and severely handicapped people, you know what I mean? And it was overwhelming at first, but I got used to it and I got to know all these people, and I had another co-sub who had been there a little longer than me, and they were like more in charge than I was, but it was still overwhelming. And really where my story kind of really begins is there was a day where this person, was sick, and I kind of had to do everything by myself.
The co-teacher.
The co-teacher was ill, and I mean
So how many days were you with these kids?
I was there for about 3 weeks before I had to go in alone. So not very long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's long for subbing, but it's not long for like real teaching.
Yeah, working.
So yeah, I had to get in there, and my thing with the class was always like, I understood the importance of the routines and everything, but like at a certain point, it would just get like, oh my God, the day would just drag on and on and on. It's just because, like there was just all these protocols that you have to do step by step, and and if you went out of order, then the kids would have a breakdown. I mean, they got used to that routine. What I mean? But at the same time, it would take forever. It's like, why do these people have to go to the bathroom at the, it was.
But isn't their helper with them? Doesn't the helper know who the child is?
Yes. And this is where it got crazy because the two kids that I ended up being really close with, but were these kids, David and Andre. They both had Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. They were 19, 20 years old, but they had the maturity of like a 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. They had no language, but they were sweet, you know what I mean? And they very, I mean, severely mentally retarded Down syndrome, what I mean, with with the, oh my God, they had a personal person named Patty. She was from Brooklyn, like a 70-year-old woman. She used to tease me all the time because I would stare at these kids, you know what I mean? Like, not rudely, but she'd catch me, like, it's like a lot to take in to look at a person with Down syndrome. Everybody looks, Christine.
I know. I mean, but yeah, because it's like, what can I do for these people?
Yeah, you see that they're vulnerable, and then oh my God, but they had the whole, I mean, they just had like every bad thing. I mean, oh man.
They're in wheelchairs.
No wheelchair for
the
Down syndrome people. But yeah, David and Andre. And, they were like just really good buddies, and, they had their own little connection or whatever, and they just were inseparable, you know what I mean? And Patty would catch me staring at their hands and stuff like, oh, you like David and Andre's sausage finger? Hey, Pam, I caught Joe looking at David and Andre's sausage fingers over here. And it was, he teased me about it, you know what I mean? People in special ed, they tease
one another. Yeah,
you know what I mean? And
that's good. They have to.
And I was embarrassed because I hadn't been there for very long. Yeah. So it was embarrassing for me. Wasn't embarrassing for them at all. You know what I mean? Like it's just part of their daily thing. So
they have to.
They have to joke about it to get through it. You know what I mean? And
it's like if you work in a funeral parlor,
right.
People are going to, I'm sure they mess around with the bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the way it was, and they were very comfortable with it. But, like David's like big forehead and Andre's little weird teeth and the drooling and stuff. I mean, it was affecting me. I was like kind of, it was hard for me, to get used to it. And I did. And they were, I'm a jerk off or whatever. But so the day that this girl was out, it was, flu season or whatever. Patty was not there, and I'm like, all right, it's my chance. I'm going to do this. We're going to do the routines, but we're going to cut a couple of these steps out. It's not necessary. And the only reason that these kids came to class is because they wanted to. David and Andre wanted to go to swimming class. That was it. That was their main operation. They lived and died by swimming class. If you could take away swimming class, you could get them to do anything. Okay, so you have power over them. All right. So they always had to go and get. They had to get dressed separately every day. You know what I mean? Every day dressed. Routine. David, then Andre, and that's it. And then they go to swimming class at fourth period, and that was their day. And so I'm going, you guys are going at the same time. Your person's not here. Just, you guys know each other. Just take care of this together, all right? And we can maybe get out of class by, 2:00 today instead of 5 p.m. You know what I mean? So I sent them, and they're fine. They come back. It's no big deal. You know what I mean? I'm like, I knew that it's like, this is, okay, so just go to swimming class. You guys going to be okay? They give me the okay. And it's like 100 yards walk. I watch them for as long as I can. I watch them go in the gate, and they get to the swimming pool, and it's like, okay, they're fine.
And they're with another teacher now
they're with another teacher,
Sure.
Okay, so I start teaching the fourth period class, which was how to brush your teeth or whatever. Something that I can handle. I was, I had a lot of anxiety writing on the chalkboard and stuff like that, because I make bad spelling errors, a big dyslexia, you know what I mean? So I had a lot of, like the kids would be like, that's not how you spell experience. I'm like, but this class, very comfortable teaching them how to, floss and do whatever. That was at my level. So 30 minutes passes and I didn't even think about the boys. And then the phone rings and I pick it up and I'm like, hey, Coach Dan, how are you doing? And it's, you need to report to the swimming pool immediately. And I'm like, well, what seems to be the problem is he's just get down here immediately. And I'm like, I froze up, what I mean? And I just, I'm like, it just kind of all hit me. I would have been overwhelmed all day long. It's like, no, you can't send 2 special people to the pool unsupervised, you idiot. And then I started to catastrophize it. I didn't even think. And then I left 30 people in the room alone and just sprinted down the hallway to the swimming pool. And I'm just going, oh my God, like you're an idiot. Like, not only are you going to lose your job for doing this, because you can't do that, you are going to be locked up for negligence. I mean, this is like a horrible thing to do. And I can see the pool's evacuated.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, pool's evacuated. There's just, there's 30 kids standing looking in horror out at this swimming pool. And I'm going, Jesus Christ, this is horrendous. I gotta fight my way through this crowd of kids. And I look out across the swimming pool, and I'm expecting to see 2 dead children, just floating in the shallow end of the pool. And I'm like preparing myself emotionally to see this. And I look out there, and it's just so much worse. It is David fucking Andre in his ass. Yeah, no. No, nothing. I'm telling you right now. And they were locked together, and I was screaming at them. Damn it! Stop it! Locked together. Oh, it was horrific. It was horrific. Nothing can prepare you for that.
Were they in the water?
They were in they were in like 3 feet of water. Just plowing. The kid was getting plowed. You know what I mean? Oh, it was disgusting. It was horrible.
So, what did you?
I was screaming
did they
at
have
them.
Their bathing suits off?
No, they're not completely off. Just around the end. I mean, it was just a real opera. I mean,
everybody was watching.
Everybody was watching.
So they had already been told stop, uncouple.
I was screaming at them to stop. Okay, it meant nothing to them. It meant nothing to them. Their love is strong. Their love was strong.
Did you have any idea they were a couple?
No. So I had to get into the pool with with Coach Dan, who played water polo for UCLA. We couldn't separate them. We could not separate these 2. It was horrible. It was like watching a shark attack. You just have to watch it until it's over with. You know what I mean? Like,
let them finish.
You just gotta let them finish, and they finished. Oh my God, it was terrible. And then they started making out, and that was grosser than the butt fucking. I'm telling you, just the 2 faces. It was disgusting.
Then what happened? You got him out of the pool. You said, "Stop it, stop it."
I was screaming. Everybody was horrified. They felt bad for me, and I had to. Well, it gets worse after that. So then I got to write up an incident report about this fucking whole thing. I'm telling you, this is almost worse than watching it. Because you have to write out in 3rd person, Christine. Mr. Manente observed this. You were a flight attendant.
Yeah.
You know how
the rules. Yeah.
Rules. So you write it out in 3rd person. And then I did that. It took me a while. And I'm trying to wrap my head around this. And then I had to call their parents, who are first generation Catholic immigrant Hispanic parents, and tell them that not only are their sons, it's hard enough to have any child, let alone a disabled, and now they're going to find out their sons have homosexual tendencies on top of that.
No wonder that they enjoyed swimming so much.
They loved it. Yeah, there was their time to frolic around together.
I wonder if that happened before.
Well, I'm getting to that.
What did Patty say? Okay.
So I go up to the dean's office with this incident report and the 2 boys, and he's so proud of this community-based integration program. You know what I mean? So every time he sees these kids, he's always like, "Oh, David, Andre, it's so good to see you." And so I go up to him. It's this typical greeting. "Oh, well, look at you guys, you little rascals." You know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh my God. Hand him the paper. He's looking at the paper. He goes, "Oh yeah, oh my God, oh my God." He goes, again? I go, again? What? You're right.
way.
I'm like, what do you mean again? And he goes, I'll tell you later. And then he takes the boys into the office, and I'm just sitting there, like with a moment to gather my thoughts. And I'm just like, oh my, that's like when it all came to a realization, like, that's why they're not allowed to go get dressed together. They have to go,
separately.
Because
the routine is imperative.
Yes. They fuck, Kristen. They fuck.
God. Okay, were you guys losing it? Come on. Is that the funniest thing you ever heard? Did you see that coming? No way. There's no way you saw that coming. I laughed so hard. I hope I didn't ruin the recording because I couldn't stop laughing. Too funny. What a great story. Joe Manente, fantastic comedian and a wonderful guy in general. All right, you guys, listen, this has been so fun sharing these 3 stories with you guys again. I sure appreciate each and every one of you for listening to Storyworthy, for giving me those good reviews that I need on Apple Podcasts, and for coming over to Story Smash on Friday nights. I really appreciate your time. It's truly because of the letters that I get and, just the tweets that I get and people telling me to keep going, and they keep supporting me and loving what I do. I can't thank you enough. Find me over there on Twitter at Storyworthy, and of course on Instagram at Storyworthy, and also at Story Smash on Instagram. And one more website, guys, ChristineBlackburn.com. That's easy. That's clean. So follow that as well, would you? Or check it out. All right, you guys, 2021 is here. It's going to be better than ever. I promise. Lord knows it can't get much worse. So everybody, on to 2021. Let's stay positive. Let's stay energized. Joe Biden is coming in. Things are turning around. There is a vaccine. There will always be stories, and I am right here to give them to you. All right, you guys. My name is Christine Blackburn, saying, make it a story-worthy new year.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.
Your favorite band's about to play a sold-out show. You got in.
Over here!
With a friend. And found a spot close enough to see the set list. They're definitely playing your song. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.
Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
Hi, it's Carl Deichler, CEO of Beachbody, and I'm giving away 10,000 free memberships a week to try our amazing Beachbody fitness and nutrition programs. Pick any program and just follow it step by step, like our 21-Day Fix program or the Ab Shredding Muscle Burns Fat program. Plus, there's free support in personalized fitness groups with our community of over 2 million members. Now is the time, so don't wait. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.
With Kroger brand products from Bakers, you can make all your favorite things this holiday season. Because Kroger brand's proven quality products come at exceptionally low prices. And with a money-back quality guarantee, every dish is sure to be a favorite.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Whether you shop delivery, pickup, or in-store, Kroger brand has all your favorite things. Bakers, fresh for everyone.